Hello and welcome to the 100 Day Art Challenge. This video will be number 81 of 100, so we're getting there. It's not too far from the end, and this is going to be my second in a row image of a farmer. Well, that's the reference image. Yesterday I did a young farmer, and only a few steps away from him was this older farmer, and I find these types of scenes fascinating because what I captured on my camera was images of farmers looking at the sheep being auctioned off, and the focus on their face was, just noticeable and fairly intense. And I just thought that it was nice to capture these types of moments where you can see professional people really concentrating on what is important to them, and it was an interesting environment. So again, the way that I'm approaching the piece is not exactly how I should do it. I should really be using the colour of the paper to use that as a mid-tone that I can work these soft pastels into, but instead the quicker way for me to do this is just to cover the surface with the tone of the colours that I'm using. So that's the approach that I'm using for this, which is not the right way to use it, and I might still do a soft pastel portrait soon, the way that I should, really, the technique that I should be adopting. But for the sake of speed, and because this challenge has gone on quite a while now, and some days I just need to catch up and get something done, that's why I'm doing this. As much as I do enjoy making the art, it's not the same as having time to sit down and make art. This is when you need to, and I used to really struggle with that years ago when I did my first Inktober. I really struggled through it, and by the end of the month it was agony. So I made sure that after that October, the following year, I did a whole year from January to the end of December of an image every day, because I didn't like the idea that I was struggling to make an image every day. And I learnt a lot from that. And since then, it has been something which I can do more often. But an ink drawing is different than trying to make something with different materials. And this medium to me is a little bit more demanding in doing things from reference, and trying to create a piece of art that I think contributes to the challenge has been a bit more demanding than what my Inktober challenges have previously been, but in a good way, as well as in a bit more of a trying way, and a bit more of a kind of a toll that it's taken on me over this 100 days, not 100 so far, but 81 days I should say. But not to say that it's bad, it's just, in all honesty, I'm looking forward to the close of this challenge. I really want to spend longer on pieces of artwork. I want to have several sessions on a piece instead of trying to finish something in a day. As much as you can learn a lot from this type of challenge, there's still going to be limits if you can't spend sessions over one day on a piece. So there we are. But this, I quite like this face that I capture for this piece. Again, I was saying that the points of concentration for this farmer and the cattle market at these times are interesting, because nobody will notice me and my camera whilst they're focusing on what's important to them, when it comes to bidding, and what makes sense to them for the price and for the investment of buying the livestock. And so I utilise that to try and capture some of the expressions on people's faces, and it's worked out to be quite an interesting source for my reference images, and I've used a few for this challenge. And as I said, I might tap into some more as well. I've enjoyed using these soft pastels. I've mentioned it in previous videos, but I'll say it again, that these are a different brand than I normally use. These are Winsor & Newton, and the ones that I normally use are a bit cheaper. I think they are, let's see what they're called, high grade colours inscribe pastels, and I don't want to say they're not good, but I prefer that the Winsor & Newton are rounded as opposed to being having sharp edges and being long rectangular blocks. These are instead tubes. They're kind of because they're rounded tubes of pastels. You can push them along the surface better, and they seem to just be made of slightly softer material than the cheaper ones. So that's what I've enjoyed using for these, and I don't have many of them left. There's not I'm wearing them down as well, so this is something I'll have to invest in, I think, in the future, is some soft pastels, because they will be worthwhile. I've not really been as experimental with the colours as I should be as well. For the skin, I've gone pink and white. Or red and white to make a pink. It's not exactly wild and out there. I'm going kind of brown for the hair and for the shadow areas. So I am being less expressive than I was previously, and I should probably try and push into some of that for part of the challenge. I think for the last few, I'm either going to do mixed media, or I'll do some kind of fauvist or just kind of more experimental and expressive approaches to image making. One, because it will be more interesting, but also it should be faster and more fun, because it's basically make a mess and clean it up. It's chaos and order. It's the essential way that a lot of people make art, especially professionals, endorse that type of practice. And instead I've been trying to fiddle away, and you can see me here with my finger just dabbing away, trying to be very gentle and soft, whereas I think for the remainder of the challenge I will probably be a little bit more wild with my mark making, and then just do some touches on top to try and refine what's remaining. But I say that I'm not trying to criticise too harshly what I achieve here, because as I said, I do quite like this image when it's finished. I think I have captured what I was admiring about the reference image. But I also thought it would be interesting for this video, because I do periodically try to do this, and for this video I thought it was a good opportunity to show you the real-time footage of me making one of these images, because for the previous, I don't know how many, quite a lot now, I have shown time-lapse footage and reduced the time of the video down significantly, which is good in its own way. You get to see the art being made fairly fast, and you still see it from the beginning to the end. But I thought if I show you in real time how I make this image, then you can see how fast I make the marks, the decisions that I make. You can see where my hand drifts along, and as I'm thinking, should I do this part, should I do it with my finger, or should I do it with this? And like here where you can see the creases or the lines on the top of the forehead, how it's I'm holding it slightly differently, because I want to make lighter marks, and I don't want it to be too broad a mark as well. I want it to be not just gentle, but I want it to be fairly thin, to capture what the creases on the kind of wrinkles that occur on the forehead look like when someone is raising their eyebrows and contemplating something. And that's why I was holding the pastel that way, and that would probably be lost if this were a time lapse, because it would just flash by in a second. But yeah, so I think there's several reasons why real-time pieces like this offer a more interesting insight into how the art gets made. But I can't do that too often, because sometimes it takes half an hour or more, and I don't really want to upload half-hour long videos of me making a piece if it's not something which is going to be framed and sold. Not that it's, half an hour is my go-to time for framed and sold work. I just mean if it's just something which I'm trying to conjure for the challenge to fulfill the brief, I don't always feel like it justifies the runtime. On this occasion, I think it's just long enough, or just short enough I should say, to justify being worthwhile, and it has just enough nice touches to it, just like again on these creases that I just did on the top of the forehead, these touches of light just below the dark line, I think are nice little touches, and to be able to see how they come about and how I'm trying to represent the light on the subject is interesting to see in real time. I think I'd like this video if I came across it and it was someone else's video. I have had a couple of comments since this series began about the music underneath the artwork, and all I can say is that there are about 370 videos on my channel that don't have music on the artwork, so you can enjoy those. But for this whole challenge there will be music with the artwork, and that's not going to change because of a few comments saying I don't like the music. I'm sorry you don't like the music. That's just going to be a constant for this challenge. That's a theme where this whole challenge has the same intro. It has music underneath the commentary. Sometimes the music may be slightly louder than I should have had it, and yes, the music does loop, but at least it's not royalty-free music, because some channels, instead of having commentary, will just have royalty-free music playing, and I think that's awful. Whereas it's the music that I've made. It may not be amazing music, but it's something which I think sits under the artwork quite nicely. I don't mind it at all, and when I watch back the videos I think that it's not distracting for me. So I really make the channel for my preference, and I'm sorry if it irritates anyone, but it is me who I'm trying to please first, so that I can justify the decisions that I make and not pander to the audience. Although I do care about people's opinions and I will take them into consideration, I won't always make any decisions or change anything based on those. It depends on how I feel about the decisions I've made. So that's that, just to address it. I do appreciate the comments. I want you to feel free to share your thoughts, whether they're positive or negative, just as I hope that people like the video. If you don't like the video, you can leave a dislike. That's, I don't mind people doing that. I'm just saying that it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to change things unless I agree, and it's something I haven't noticed. But otherwise, I really like the fact that the channel is growing and getting more views. It's the one thing which I'm getting more subscribers, but not as many views as I really wish I would. So maybe I need to work on that in the future. For different videos, I might try to make better thumbnails and more engaging content that attracts more clicks. But for this challenge, it's just being falling into a bit of a format, which I don't mind too much. It's following a certain pattern that I think makes sense for the challenge, just as I've done with previous video series that I've made. Like the one previous to this was the Dirty Corner. I am glad that series is over, but that followed a format, and that's how I like to make video series on the channel, really. And there are other ideas I'm going to explore on this channel afterwards that are quite different to this, but I think they need a bit more development and production before they're ready to go out. As for this piece, you can see it's shaping up. I'm just working away at some of the shape of the bottom jaw and the neck, and now I'm getting into the hair to develop some of the tones up there, because there are some brown and some golden light tones in the hair, and I couldn't decide whether it was white or whether it was yellow, and it's kind of too light to be actual gold, so I'm trying to do a combination of the two. But I think you can sort of see what's happening. It's come together as a face. I think it's a legitimate, proportionate face, and it's part of the collection of images that I've made for the challenge. I quite like this one, and I'm hoping that the remaining images will be a decent contribution, because as I said, I'm kind of scrambling to get things done. For the majority of this challenge, I made the artwork and then couldn't edit and upload the videos for quite a while, so I had this huge bank of art that I'd made in videos that were just waiting to be edited, recording commentary on top, and then publish them. And that's what I did for a while, and as soon as that ran out, I kind of panicked and thought, oh no, now I have to just make art rapidly, because I can't do it at my leisure anymore and just bank it. So it has to just happen sometimes. So it's you might notice that there is a black smudgy thing on the right of the screen, and that is yesterday's video. And if you didn't see yesterday's video, I'll leave a link in the top right hand corner now, and that is why there's a big black smudgy thing, because I thought there's space to the left of that previous submission, so that's where I'm going to put this chap. 2 farmers together, one young, one a bit older. And as I've said in previous videos, I may return to these pieces and do something with them. There's definitely a few pieces that I've made for this challenge that I'd like to finish off and make sure that they are refined a little bit more, because I've left certain things a bit raw and a bit unfinished in certain areas, but I'd like the idea of returning to certain pieces just because they do have potential. And I don't know if these are going to be 2 of them, but I like the fact that they're on the page together, so who knows, it may turn into a piece that I return to. But as I've said earlier, I would much rather approach soft pastels the way that I know to do it and the way that I originally used to use them, and it's just a bit of laziness and a bit of stress of trying to get the artwork done, where I just thought, it just takes that little bit more time and patience to preserve the colour of the surface, and I just didn't have it in me to do that. I just thought, no, I'm just going to scrub down red and then get white on top to make the pink and develop the piece from there. And it is lazy, but at least it's a half decent looking face in my opinion. So forgive me for that. That's something which I can see, and I don't like that type of sloppiness in my work, but we're almost there. It's almost the end of the challenge, and I have enjoyed it, but it is getting to a point where I want to make the last few really good. I want to send it off with a bit of a bang, but I also just want it to end. I want to go to the next project now. The Dirty Corner lasted for 20 episodes, and that felt just so difficult to get through. But that was quite heavy material to get through. That was a completely different series. This isn't. This is quite, I'm free to choose whatever image I want. But it's still, it's 81 or whatever it is, this video. So it's weighing me down that way. And as much as I am free to choose what I want, I think you've noticed that once I notice a pattern, I follow a pattern. And for me, it's basically sticking to a medium. So at the moment, it's soft pastels. Who knows what's going to be next? I think I'm going to do a couple more soft pastels just because there's a certain number that I'd like to achieve. And I think this is the 7th piece or the 8th piece. So I might do one more and round it off at 9 because I want to do them in sets of 3s. I'll explain that another day, but for now, this is the piece that I made. This is what the art is going to look like for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.